Good morning on the couch followers. It is Saturday, August 5th. I've had my birthday, which was August 1st, and it's Leo season. So, hey, good morning, and welcome to On the Couch. So, this morning, before we get into our topic, we got a couple of things I'm going to be talking about, but of course, I am going to introduce my co host, Miss Rajanta. She's waiting in the wings, and then Miss Michelle, she's waiting in the wings too. But before I bring them on, our topic this morning is definitely going to be about life insurance. What is the importance of having life insurance? Why do we need it? And then thinking and talking about why we don't go and get these things that we need while we are alive. So while we are alive, do we believe that we are talking about our own mortality when we talk about life insurance? Are we saying, oh, am I dying anytime soon? No, what we're going to do for you today is bring you the knowledge by bringing on Mr. Anthony Royster. He's going to be talking about life insurance. What do you do, how you get it, and how it all works. So you have the opportunity to drop your questions and comments. So we're looking forward to talking to you. So without further ado, let me bring on my wonderful co-host. So we have Miss Rajanta. Good morning, my dear. Good morning, Miss Michelle. How are you?
Good morning.
How are you all doing this morning?
Wonderful.
Good. How are you?
Good. How's your week gone so far?
Good. It was a short, long week.
Short, long week.
Wow. Yeah, it was like short and long. Like it's taking too long to get to Friday. And yeah, it's been a busy week.
Yeah, my week. Every week I look forward to Friday. Okay, once Sunday night hits and I got to get up and start prepping for Monday. I am really waiting for Friday. Actually, so my week went well. It went fast. So
there's no weekend. You really don't get a weekend. There's one day in the weekend. That's just Saturday.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. That's true. One day in a weekend, and they need to tell the truth. That's how they set us up. We go through the whole week. The next, we laying on the couch, get up, talk about it's Monday. Yes. Come on now.
Mad as hell.
Treating us dirty. Really.
Well, happy birthday too. Happy birthday.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so for my birthday, I actually went and did some volunteer work. So you all know about National Night Out?
Yes.
Okay, that's where I was at. And that was great to do, doing something and giving back on my birthday. And, John's birthday, which is my husband, everyone, John's birthday is actually July 31st.
Okay.
So
wow.
We went to Fogo de Chao on the 30th to celebrate his birthday. So he was turning 50. So now I'm 51. So at this point, it's like, I don't have to do a whole lot. I really don't. But I can tell you what, I think I felt like I had a quiet day, because that day I really relaxed and enjoyed myself by relaxing for a change and not doing something. So to me, that was my birthday gift. It really was just to chill out and not do anything for a change, And I thank God to wake me up for another year of circling around and orbiting around this earth and continue to do the things I love to do. So I thank God for that. So that's a fact. So thank you for another birthday,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Really.
Happy birthday.
Yes, I appreciate you ladies so much about that, about my birthday, and all those who sent me text messages and Facebook, going on Facebook and wishing me a happy birthday. And I thank all of those who are listening to us this morning. Yes. So just a few things I wanted to touch on this morning that have bothered me throughout the week. I wanted to talk about first Sheila Oliver, which is our lieutenant governor, who recently passed away unexpectedly. No one knew what was going on. And of course, it's undisclosed. But I would love for On the Couch to send the condolences to her family, because such a great loss. This woman have done some wonderful things, and her voice was very powerful when her voice was heard. So again, she is in a better place. She really is. So have
Absolutely.
you, yeah, you two ladies, I know you all had heard about the
I
news,
did.
right,
Yeah.
of the loss of the
And
lieutenant
she was
governor.
with Lieutenant Governor. It was a lot of firsts. She was the first Black woman to hold statewide elective office.
Yeah.
She was the first Lieutenant Governor. I know she did a lot of work in her community. She was definitely a trailblazer. She did a lot of work for the disenfranchised and underprivileged population. And she was from Newark, New Jersey. So she was of the
Yes.
people while she helped the people, and that's something that's definitely going to be missed, and hopefully
Mm-hmm.
her legacy will continue to live on through her constituents and also the people who she mentored.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So again, our condolences will go out to the Oliver family, all her family members, and those who have worked with her as well, because they too feel the impact of her loss.
Absolutely.
So another topic that I came across was Terrence Butler, the young man that was the athlete at Drexel University. It was determined this morning, because he was found dead in his dorm room, and then it was determined early this morning that he committed suicide.
Mhm.
So that is very, very hard to hear. A young man like that uh, was reduced down to taking his own life. I'm just
Yeah.
curious about what would have compelled him to get to that place that he took his life, and he's gone now. He's not
Absolutely.
coming back.
Yeah.
What do you two ladies think? Did you hear about the story?
I did hear about it. And it's definitely an unexpected loss, I'm sure, for his teammates, for his family. I just think about the
Mhm.
stressors that are compounded, with just being a college student and not to mention being an athlete. That's a lot of pressure. I mean, for me,
Yeah,
school was rough for me. I hate school. So I
yeah,
can imagine if I had the added pressure of kind of having to show up for my teammates and being this, great athlete as well. I could definitely see how stressful his life was and could have become.
yeah.
I don't think we set our children up to how to deal with stress. And
Mhm.
sometimes in society, sometimes we're like, "Oh, you'll be fine." We'll just say you'll be fine, or pray
Mhm.
and you'll be fine, or
Mhm.
it'll go away, or this is just the feeling that you have today. We're not teaching our babies how to deal with
Absolutely.
life, life,
Mhm.
life. And
Yeah.
they do, and little people have stress too.
Mhm.
They have stress that we hadn't had to deal with. So I think we should stop brushing that too under the rug. When you say, "Oh," sometimes my grandson will say, "Oh, I'm stressed." What you stressed for? What's your stress?
Mhm.
But he'll tell you why he's stressed, or you're
Mhm.
like, okay. But I think that's the things that we need to do. Start talking to our kids and asking them
Yes.
why, instead of saying, "You're not stressed. You don't pay bills. You don't have nothing to be stressed
Yes.
about." They do have stress. They
Yes.
do. School might be
Absolutely.
stressful for
Yeah.
them. We have no
Yes.
Yeah.
idea.
Yes.
Yeah.
Talking to them and actually also offering, supportive coping skills,
Hmm.
that they can use as well to kind of release that stress. I think it's important.
Absolutely. I do
Um,
too.
Not to wait till you get to be a grown up, but to kind of learn those skills early on,
Right,
right?
right.
Mhm. Mhm. And that's a part of life skills. What age, how early should we start life skills? Life skills should start as early as possible,
Mhm.
because of life, society. You
Yes.
are going to run into so many different pressures, and having the ability to navigate through those pressures is the goal here. And no one is perfect. You're not going to be able to navigate across every single thing.
Right.
But when you think about this young man, what did he go through? How come he
Mhm.
didn't go back and call home?
Yeah.
Or what response did he get? You don't know. So it's just
Mhm.
so many different things that can be compounded, that he just could not take it anymore, and people break. We are all
Yeah.
fragile. We're very
Yeah.
fragile. Our
Yes.
minds are very fragile, and sometimes it just take one thing to make us snap. And
Mhm.
we don't know the situation, but I feel bad for him and his family. because they shouldn't be at this place where they have to bury him.
And you're
No.
questioning, as a parent, you question yourself
Yeah.
constantly. What did I miss? What did I do wrong? I think we do the
Yeah.
best that we can. Ultimately, you do the best
Yes.
you can.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. I see that as a future topic, ladies, that we should be talking about suicide, addressing the pressures that go along with suicide in the different age groups. Because,
Yeah.
when you're studying through school, I know for me, I'm going to speak for myself, they looked at older people, senior citizens, as the one that had the highest rate of suicide.
Wow.
Now that is starting to change. So it's not no longer just the seniors that are doing this, but we're talking about younger people. And when you think about the seniors, we have to look at it like this. They get to the point where they're done with their lives. That's why they do what they do when they commit suicide, because they're done. So if I'm already 70, almost 80 years old, and I feel like I'm finished here, most of them are like, I'm done. I'm out of here. What do I owe anyone? But when you're young and you haven't lived your life, that's where my question comes in at, like, how did you get to that place that you want to do this? So,
And it's
I think that's a great topic to talk about.
Yeah, it's
I do
happening
too.
younger and younger too. Younger and younger.
Mhm.
You read about different kids and different stories, bullying, different type of stressors. It could be your home life.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of different stressors that kind of come into effect when you think about suicide and someone,
Yeah.
just choosing to make that ultimate decision of not wanting to be here. Not thinking about the implications it will bring on your family or the people who love you. That is like a permanent
Yeah.
decision. I don't
Yeah.
think people think it all the way through.
Yes.
I think
So
that sometimes maybe when you're in that crisis mode and you're just like,
Mhm.
you're not thinking about anybody other than
Yeah.
this hurts and I just want to take this away.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. So true. So we will, definitely come back to that topic. It is warranted for us to come back to that topic because we're serving our Black and Brown community. We need to educate them as well on suicide and resources, and then what to do when you come across someone that say, I want to commit suicide. Because talking about it does not mean that you're telling them what to do. You're just trying to fish out what's going on, what they're thinking about, what method they're trying to use. So if you're helping by asking the question, you actually could save their life just by asking the question and talking about it, And then last but not least, we brought up DeSantis the last time, but you know what? It's getting worse. It's time, we got to protest against Florida at this point. I just happened to come across a quick article that now a lot of the fraternities and sororities are like, that's it. We're done. And it just don't even have to be them. It has to be all of us, a united front to say we are not going to be thrown back into the 1800s. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
and it's good that people are kind of taking a stand because we think just
Right.
because we are not in Florida, like it does not affect us. Actually, it affects everyone.
Yes.
So I'm glad
Absolutely.
that people are kind of taking a stand. I know that Walt Disney's taking a stand. A lot of
Yes.
organizations down there are taking, and surprisingly, because I'm like shocked, like what?
Yeah.
So a lot of organizations are bringing light to this and are taking a stand because enough is enough. Like enough is
Yes.
enough.
Yes, enough is enough. So let us have a united voice behind the Black and Brown community there, that they're not going to take it anymore and we're not going to take it anymore. You're not going to do whatever you want to do to us. We are here to stay. So DeSantis and all the other Republicans who feel that we are not worthy, we are worthy because we were the ones who built these United States that you happen to be talking and going to Congress for and being voted into these seats. And
Right.
Black is powerful, but you don't get that. But then again, when you're scared of something as powerful as Black people, of course you're going to try to destroy them. But sir, are we gone yet?
Nope.
No. So I think you should get over it. So that's all I'm going to say about that. And of course, we are going to move on to our wonderful topic this morning. And this is about why don't we talk about life insurance in our daily lives? This is something we have to do. But look, I'm not an expert. I don't know if you two ladies are an expert on this topic, but I definitely got an expert that's coming on, Mr. Anthony Royster. He is going to join us this morning to talk about this this very topic to educate our Black and Brown community. So let's bring them on in. Good morning. Good morning. How are you? You're on mute.
I knew that. I was just testing you.
Oh, you were okay, good. That's good. That kept me alert because, sometimes I do drift off.
Good morning, ladies. How are you all?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good.
Thank you very much for joining us this morning. We are looking forward to getting some wonderful information from you about life insurance and the importance of life insurance. But before you go there, can you introduce yourself to us?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Anthony Royster, as previously mentioned. I am the founder and CEO of AMR Cover Life Insurance, LLC. Not to give you my entire resume, but I previously worked for New York Life at one point in time, which shifted the trajectory of starting my own firm. I have my bachelor's of Science in Business Administration with a concentration in General Management, and currently pursuing the dual Masters of Arts of Divinity and Masters of Theology. And so that's where I am right now. And as you all can see, I definitely have a passion for life insurance outside of, what we know it to be generally, that it's only paid out upon death. So hopefully we have enough time. I will do my best to try not to speak on it as if I'm preaching, but I can't promise that until I'm cut off.
Listen, this is what you're here for. We appreciate you being on. So, yes, get started. Educate us. Basic question: what is life insurance, and why should we get it?
Yeah, absolutely. So life insurance, we know it as two different things. One, it is something that is put on a family member or a friend, someone who is I'm careful about the word friend, but family member who is closest to us. And usually we put life insurance on somebody that in the event of a catastrophic incident, in this case, death, we want to ensure, proper burial, bills are paid, the generational wealth gap is fulfilled, a legacy is left behind. Excuse me. Usually, that's the general definition of what we know life insurance to be.
Yeah, Mr. Worcester, this is great information. I'm sorry to cut you off, but what would you think of a proper burial? Like, what does that look like? Is it like
I'm sorry, go ahead. You can finish.
A proper burial? Like, what would a proper burial cost, and what does it entail?
So that's situational, depending on the one who is either insured and the person who is burying the deceased or cremating the deceased. It can, for those who like to be buried, there's a couple factors to take into consideration. Whereas though the funeral home, forgive me, I kind of prepared. So you have like the funeral home expense, and to be clear, the cost of a funeral average is about $10,000, but that's just if it's basic. That's not including like the funeral home services. That's not including the casket. That's not including opening the ground. That's not including the viewing, the dressing, the embalming. So that $10,000 easily can be stretched to $20,000.
Wow.
So yeah, just to put a body in the ground. So when it's amazing that when you see so many like GoFundMes or fish fries, that's because they don't know about the back end pricing of a funeral. You may think that you have what some people call like a burial policy. That's back in the day with like our grandparents, and back then they had a guy that would come around the block and he would take a couple of dollars, $5, $10, $15 here. Don't really know much about the policy, but they had this one specific guy who would come out and he would write something in the book, and next thing you know, your folks had coverage. But once they passed away, you come to realize later down the line they only had maybe $5,000 or $7,000 in coverage back. And then that's not including casket, all of the things that the funeral directors they need to go through, churches that that they have to pay, and the funeral processions, and there's a lot of things.
So
that
it's a
come
money
into
making.
play.
This is a money
Yeah,
making.
Yeah,
it's expensive to
sounds
die.
like it.
It's expensive to die. I mean, it's expensive
Wow.
to come into the world too,
More
but
expensive to die than it is to live.
so yeah, that's like the average. I mean, and then if you're gonna go like that's just a burial, but then if you're gonna go the cremation route, it's a little cheaper. So you're looking at about maybe 10. If you want to give it like wiggle room, I say about 15,000. And that's usually for like families where you can like rent a casket if you want to have like a general, funeral service. They can come, pay their last respects, and then once that's done, then the funeral home would then proceed with the cremation process. So not that expensive, but usually about 10,000, 15,000.
Wow, 10, 15,000. It is expensive getting out of here.
Yeah,
Look, yeah, it even costs to leave.
it does. Yeah,
Leave
that's
up out of
how
this
it
camp.
fits.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
Yeah.
So when you think, no, keep going with the definition of life insurance though, because I know you were in the middle of explaining it, giving us more of an explanation.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So that's just like the general portion of life insurance. When you hear it, that's just basically leaving a legacy, bridging the generational wealth gap. But most people don't know, and this is something that I've learned honestly from a realtor. The question is, what's in it for me? And this instance, the root word of life insurance is life. And so what I try to do and educate at least our people, there's a benefit of having life insurance and to use it while you're alive. For instance, tax diversification, college planning, wealth accumulation, savings. There are tax codes that prohibit Commonwealth or debtors from touching your life insurance policy. If this is a safe space to speak freely, honestly, really doesn't matter who sees it. But white people have been using life insurance for years.
But why? Like, why don't we know?
Money.
Like, why don't we know about this? And why?
I think we don't know about this as Black people because number one, we don't listen. Number one, we think that we're not going to die. Number three, we think that we know all, like nobody can tell us nothing. And then the one thing that I absolutely unequivocally loathe is that the minute life insurance is mentioned, people get spooky and they start thinking, hey man, if we start talking about life insurance, I'm gonna die next week. There's no probability.
Yeah.
You're dying next week. And if you are to die next week, you should be prepared.
Yes.
Yes.
Wow, that is true.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's literally the definition that yes, it can provide, monetary gain for your family at the point of departure, but there is some gain here for the insured while alive.
So is it too late for me? So I'm 40-something years old. Like, is it too late for me to kind of, I got a little small policy. I mean, a little small something.
So let me ask you this, right? Let me ask your question with a question, right? Are you still breathing?
I am.
Not too late.
Okay. I mean, to get rich off this whole
not too late
scheme, this whole life insurance scheme that people have been doing for years.
Not too late.
All right.
Only person that cannot ask that question is if they are already in the casket.
Mm-hmm.
That is when you know it's too late. I have
Yes.
never been to a funeral as an insurance agent or a minister and asked the person in the casket, "Yo, do you have coverage before we put you on the ground?" and I say that because even the misconception of pre-existing conditions that
Yeah.
prohibit someone from purchasing life insurance again is asinine to me, because I have contracted companies that specialize in
Oh, wow.
pre-existing conditions. So that means heart disease,
Wow.
COPD, TIAs, cancer, diabetes. Like, I have these
Yeah.
particular companies because I try to eliminate the excuse, oh, I
Mm-hmm.
have this, oh, I
Yeah.
have that. Okay,
Yeah.
so what's the next step?
I think in our community, I mean, and this is just me. I kind of think that I'm pretty well rounded in different areas of life. But this is something that always really puzzles me about this whole life insurance thing and how the beneficial aspects of it and how to,
Mm-hmm.
just really close that generational wealth gap and leave something, to my family. So it
Yes,
puzzles me.
yes,
I know there's
and
different types too.
you made a statement, like, I think you said, like, you had a little something something, right?
Hmm.
When it comes to what we call in my field a financial analysis,
Hmm.
um, every agent is different. I'm just going to say that every agent is different. Every agent learns differently on how to try to get to the same result. I am more of a meat, potatoes, cut and dry because of my particular clientele, especially with African Americans. They want to know what they're getting, how much they're getting, and
Hmm.
most importantly, how much it's going to cost.
Mm-hmm.
And so my job number one is to give you all of the information that I absolutely can, and for you to make an informed decision thereafter. Life insurance, and for anybody who's taking notes, mental notes, or what have you, life insurance does not have to kill you monetarily.
Okay.
And that's on a monthly basis. Like, you do not have to go broke to make somebody else richer down the line. You don't need to do that. Let's at least start with something. And even if that is just to put you in the ground, that
Hmm.
eliminates, honestly, almost 75%
Well,
of this
I want to be
entire
put in the ground,
process.
and I want a nice little repass.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
again, life insurance and all of that can be combined. So, for instance, when I
Oh.
do my analysis, I literally break it down in the word life. So that's
Mm-hmm.
liabilities, that's income
Mm-hmm.
replacement, that's final expense, and that's education.
Mm.
Liabilities, my job is to cover all of your debt, student loans, mortgage, if you owe a loan shark, medical expenses, car notes, or anything that's not forgivable upon death. Now, one thing that most people don't know: if you have federal loans, like student loans,
Hmm.
those are forgivable upon death. So if you pass away, you have a federal loan, they're going to
Mm.
wipe it out.
So what's not forgivable? Like what is?
Private loans.
Mm,
So if you have, like, a loan through a bank, or anything that's not connected, any loan that's not connected with the government, it's considered private. And so, which means it'll pass from you. If you pass, it's going to go from you to your heirs or
no,
whoever
no.
you are leaving behind. And so my job is, once you pass, we're going to pay all of that off. We don't want them to be in
Hmm.
debt after you. Now, if God gave me the ability to bring you back, I would most certainly do that. But
Thank you.
because I don't have that, my job is to then bring home what you were bringing home in the
Hmm.
event that you are gone. So, for
Hmm.
instance, lady, if you don't mind me asking, and what you know right now, what is your biggest asset?
I mean, I want to say my chickens. I do have two pet chickens. I love them to
Okay.
death. Um, I don't know, cause I mean, I
All
don't
right.
think that any. I mean, maybe my home. I don't know.
All
I
right.
would say that too. My house is my biggest asset to me.
Okay.
That's what I would say.
Miss Matthews,
I would agree. I would agree.
you
Your
would
home.
agree?
Hmm.
Okay. All of you are incorrect.
Oh,
That is not your biggest asset.
let's write this down.
That is not your biggest asset. Anything monetarily is not, although it is an asset, it is not your biggest asset, because who take care of the home?
Yeah.
Me.
Who
Right,
makes sure
me.
the bills are paid? Who makes sure
Yeah.
everybody eats in the house?
So
You know what I mean? You are the biggest asset. You know what I'm saying? So my job is to protect you. You're my client, right? So if anything happens to you catastrophically, I want to make sure that the asset that you are paying for can continue to go on beyond you,
wow.
right? So that means to make sure your house is paid off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you have children or if you're married, my job is to pay off the house, because I don't want your spouses
Mm-hmm.
to be worrying about having to pay a mortgage.
Right.
My job, that's part of the liability piece and my financial analysis. You know, so for those who are looking at insurance policies, they say, "Oh, I want $100,000," but then I ask you, "Well, how much was your house?" And if you tell me $250,000 or $300,000, you're already negative $150,000 to $200,000.
Wow.
So I pay
Wow.
out your $100,000. Now your spouses may only be able to stay home but a few weeks.
Mm.
Whereas though when I'm asking these questions, do you want to go back to work? Like, it's okay to tell me no.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you lost your husband
I don't.
and you say, I don't
work
want to
now.
go back to work, I'm planning for you not to go back to work.
Wow.
Right? The next piece is income replacement. So average, depending on where you are, you should have that amount of coverage from the age you are until about 5 to 10 years out of retirement. So let's take a person who's making $80,000, right? 45 years old. Let's just take the average retirement of 65. 20 years. That person should have at least $1.6 million in coverage.
Now, how much is that going to cost? Because I'm just like, I'm thinking about this. It sounds like it's going to cost a whole something I can't afford. And what do you, when you think about like a big policy like that? I mean, that's a policy that people use to kind of pass on generational wealth, right? How much does that cost? Like, is it affordable for us little people?
Believe it or not, it is. I have now a client who has $1.8 million for $56.
Really? Pre-existing conditions?
For how much? $56?
$56.
I'm paying way more than that.
Now, let's get into it, right? So
okay.
There are two different types of life insurance. Although there are multiple streams of life insurance, they all fall under two categories. One is term, one is whole life. Right? I like to equate to make the picture live a little bit. Y'all forgive me because I kind of feel like my help coming. So I like to equate term and whole life to renting an apartment and buying a house.
Okay.
Term insurance is you're renting that. You have coverage. You have somewhere to lay your head. It's not permanent, and it's a timetable to it. For some, it's like the ones that I offer is minimally between 10 years and 30. Depending some of the other companies that I have contracted can range a little less than 10, a little bit more than 30. But the average is between 10 years and 30 years, right? That's term. So you're paying into that. And you're paying into that for that 1.6 or 1.8 for the example of the client that I had. Now, I'm not expecting him to die in 10 years, but I'm also cognizant of his monthly budget. So if he does so happen to pass in 10 years, he's covered. But if he doesn't, then that means I have to do some reevaluations. But a good agent does not reevaluate his clients at the end of the policy, right? I'm involved. I'm newsy. I need to know what's going on with my client. So if you got a new job, you had a new child, or you're moving, or you developed diabetes or some type of health issue, I need to know that up front because now I have to know how to pivot your policy.
Yeah.
Because in some cases now, if you've developed a condition, they are now going to judge you moving forward with this condition. New policy.
Now, how will they know? Like, how will they know if I develop the
Because
condition?
we still have to do, depending on what we're doing, we would have to do an exam.
What?
And so this
I didn't
is
know that.
yeah. Depending on what we're doing, though. Now, if you have, let's just take this same person with the 1.8. If you, let's say, he has cancer at some point, he was diagnosed with cancer. If I try to get him additional coverage, like new coverage, brand new, they're going to evaluate him with this cancer involved, which means now his policy at that 1.6, that's $56, may end up being almost $300-400.
No.
Only because he's considered a high risk now.
Ooh.
So what ailments are the hardest? Which ones are the hardest to cover? Like, what should I tell my insurance agent? Like, what should I lie about? My weight?
Can't lie about it, because because if you lie about it and you pass away from this disease that you lied about, they won't pay it out.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
They won't pay it out. It's a term, and I literally just had it. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna tell you. Misrepresentation is what they will call it. So once the autopsy report is received, and you go out and you say, hey, no, I don't have cancer, I don't have this, that, and the third, and the autopsy is, we didn't know she had cancer. On the application, it says she was cool. But then she turns around and passes away, a year later. That's considered misrepresentation, so the insurance company won't pay out.
So the money is
lost. They will refund the premiums that you were paying.
Wow.
And that's what you'll use. And before I get back to the example, another thing to take into account, there's a life insurance window for them to pay out, which is 2 years. It's called a contestability clause. And so if you pass away within this 2-year time frame, the insurance company can question paying out your policy. So that means they're going to do a vigorous process to ensure that everything that was given on the application and your medical history was accurate to the best of your knowledge. So for people who, as you were mentioning earlier, like suicide, for someone who gets life insurance and they commit suicide within this first 2 years, insurance companies automatically are not going to pay you.
Wow.
Won't even touch it. Won't even entertain the thought. Now, if you take the same person, same policy, and they've had it 2 years and a day, by law they have to pay it out because the contestability window is closed.
So this 2-year mark is important.
Very much so, and that's every company.
For everything, it's important for everything.
That is correct. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So yeah, it's deep to know. It's deep to know what all goes into life insurance, how it pays out, how to get it. Yeah. But it also comes with a level, of honesty, because think about it. You're paying these companies X amount of dollars for the large sum of money at the end of your demise. So they want to make sure, when they pay out, they're paying out for good reason. And insurance companies minimally have $7 billion to hold on to. That's a requirement for a reserve for an insurance company to exist. They have to have at least $7 billion.
Yeah, this is stressful. To be honest, this is a very stressful conversation.
Yeah, it is kind of stressful.
I'm sure I 100%.
Yeah.
My life is just not together at all.
Just take a deep breath. Take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot that goes. Now, if this is a lot to receive, imagine what myself and my colleagues in this field have to endure, and my job is to eliminate all of this, to shield you from all of this. You know what I'm saying? Because your job, when you're asking me for a policy, you want to make sure you're good, your family is good, everybody gonna be taken care of after you pass. Me, I'm on the back end. I'm fighting with, my assistants. I'm fighting with underwriting. I'm fighting with the medical examiners. I'm fighting with corporate offices. It's a lot. And, especially like you're trying to get life insurance on somebody else. Their main question is, how do they know the person? How is this person affected, if the person they're trying to get life insurance on passes away? And there's another thing I want to get into. For those who, if you're married, have a life insurance policy on your spouse, vice versa. Even if you have one on yourself, tell your spouse to get one on you too. Your children, get policies on them, especially the youth of today. I could just be, I'm just going to say it. I know a lot of them don't have life insurance.
Just say it.
I know they don't, So my recommendation to parents, if you have children that are just out here running the streets, sad to say, I'd have said it anyway, but get life insurance policies on them.
Does that
and the way a lot of them are running, that's a quick come up.
Look at Rajanta face. She like, what?
Does that 2 year implication kind of tie into that too? Getting on your children in 2 years, something happens to them?
Anytime a life insurance policy is approved and accepted, all of them have that 2 year contestability.
So if something happens to your child before the 2 years, then you can't bury it.
They can pay it out, but they reserve the right to question them.
Okay.
They reserve that right. So for instance, let's just take that very same example. If they're out here and they're involved in gang violence, they can be like, nah.
What?
Yes, they can. Yes, they can do that.
I'm
People
upset
who just
again.
came out of jail. Like if you were arrested and you have a felony charge, you can't even get life insurance.
What? You can get life insurance with a felony?
Wow.
So it's not
about 98% of the companies won't let you get life insurance.
It's discriminatory.
That's crazy.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Wow.
It is very much discriminatory. Yep. Like I have a client, I have two, and by the grace of God, which is why I have this particular company contracted the way I do. I have two felons thus far that have coverage. One was he had a gun charge, did about I think 5 years or so. So he has this felon on his record or whatever it is that he's done. Actually, got him coverage. It was very minimal, but covers nonetheless. And I actually got a felon coverage while in jail. Wow. So once they did that, I just wasn't sure, like what they were going to do. So his contestability window has actually closed. So even if the insurance company did say, oh, well, we didn't know he was in jail. And I'm like, well, I was forthcoming with the information, so I didn't lie about it. He was on trial for attempted murder. So yeah, you guys didn't ask that question. And so like I tell folks, when you do get life insurance and they do call you and they go through this thing that's called a questionnaire, I tell them, do not answer any question that is not asked and do not over-explain. Okay? Do not give them a reason to dig through your past. You know what I'm saying? Because the minute they uncover something, you become a risk.
So was life insurance set up for us? Like, was it really set up for us, or was it set up for people who are not of color? Because it sounds like there's a lot of discriminatory practices that kind of go on with it, a lot of rules that are made to cater towards other ethnicities.
I can honestly say, just given my tenure in life in the life insurance field, that particular question was not formed for us. So life insurance across the board is for everybody. So the same things that I would tell to us is the same things that I would tell to my white counterparts.
But as far
So
as the restrictions,
that is a judge. Yep, same restrictions. So they all are judged based off of the same criteria. So even if this was a white person, a Hispanic person, a person who's a billionaire versus a person who, you know, is come from an urban area,
yeah,
they all are judged on the same rubric.
yeah. But I just think that some factors, some things affect our community a lot more, you know, and
I
it
think
kind
it
of,
affects I think it affects our community a lot more because we are less to know about. We are
yeah.
less educated about it, I should say.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Or we don't have as much education on it, rather.
Hmm.
Um, I honestly believe that if the average black family knew about and how to use life insurance the way that an average white person knows, we would be a lot further than the
Mm.
white race. Um, Statistics shown that I've seen that, and we're getting better, but back then statistics have shown that the average black family is one life insurance policy away from surpassing the average white.
Hmm.
Just
Wow.
an average, just a life insurance policy.
Wow.
4 out of 10 blacks have said that it is easier to transfer wealth through life insurance. 4 out of 10 of us.
Yeah. So,
So if we put 6 more people on this call,
hmm.
4 of us have that same agreement. And I
Hmm.
can stand to say that I'm one of that 4 because I have
Yeah.
like 2 point something out here.
Yeah. So you talked about whole life insurance. Which life insurance can we come up off of? Which one can we borrow off of? Which one would be meaningful for our pockets? How can to
Mhm.
benefit from?
So the whole life thing, both of them technically. Whole life is a little bit more expensive than term because it's a permanent it's a permanent type policy. This is the one that I equate to having like a house because the premiums are level, but the death benefit grows. But with whole life, you get something that's called cash value. And cash value and life insurance is equivalent to equity in a home.
Wow.
So as you constantly paying whatever the premium is, and I'm gonna tell you a little bit about that with the Asians. But as long as you're paying the premium consistently, it gains cash value, and then it purchases what's called like if you don't take money from it, it purchases what's called a PUA, which stands for paid up addition. And those paid up additions are the dividends or the cash value of whole life. And if you don't take it, it purchases many policies and it increases your death benefit. So if you start out with a $50,000 whole life policy now, and maybe in like 20, 25 years, depending on how much you have and how much it is, it can grow you to like 75,000.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Because you never took from the policy, and so you get dividends and things of that nature, and it buys these many life insurance policies for whatever that year is, and it increases your death benefit.
Gotcha.
So that's one way. Um, Now, if you depending the policy how large it is, you can take money from the cash value portion. Now that usually grows about 3 years. Well, starting your third year is when you start to see the cash value and whole life insurance. And so
Yeah.
down the line, you can, if need be, albeit, you need it for, child's going to school or you're renovating a home or what have you, you can draw from your
What?
cash value whole life policy. Correct.
Hmm.
Now, at the end of the day, it's just like equity in the house, right? You can't just go to your house and just take money out. So you're going to the bank, you say, hey, I have X amount of money in equity for collateral. I need a loan for whatever it is you're going to go get. They can charge you whatever the APR is at that time on that loan. It's no different than life insurance. So if you say, hey, Anthony, I need $10,000 out of my policy. Okay, cool. Set that up. It can be deposited the next day, but technically you're borrowing from that insurance company.
Okay.
So they can charge you an interest rate, and it's usually like 5.5%. It's usually not that high.
Are you paying
Now,
it back? Like, do I have to pay
Right.
this
you can pay
back?
it back. Yep, you can pay it back,
Paying it back.
but you usually pay it back when you pay your premium.
Gotcha.
Now, if you want to pay a little bit more on it, you can. Or you can take the one route that I know a lot of people are going to do. You don't have to pay it back. And then what happens is if you don't, when you pass away, whatever it is you did not pay back, they will take that out of the death benefit and then pay out the remainder.
Right.
But be clear, remember I said that your death benefit will increase. So even if you don't pay that $10,000 back, your death benefit is still going to be increasing. So it's almost as if that $10 that
Gotcha.
to begin with.
So do people invest in it like stock? Like if I got $10,000 right now, should I invest in like a whole term life insurance? Should I hustle this
Hell
thing
yeah,
out?
excuse my language. Yes.
All right. So that's the new way. That's the new stock.
The reason why is because that's a way to hide money, like from the IRS.
I didn't know.
That's a way to hide money. Again, my people have been doing this for years. Oh my God, I got like 1,000 examples. Let me calm down. Sheesh. So to the first one, right? If you have like that 10,000 example, to be clear, you do not have to report that as income. That is tax-free money. Only time you have to report. So the insurance gives you a limit to what you can take out. So you can't take more than like 80% of the policy, because if you do that by law, the insurance company then has to report that to the IRS, and then they're going to count that as tax. But as long as you're under that baseline, you can take all the way up until that base, and then that policy will continue to operate as such. All right, so that's one part. If you have questions, just write down. I'm gonna come back to that, but I'm gonna get to your 10,000 example. When I say white people have been using this for years, there's this thing called tax diversification, and they use life insurance for that very reason. Most people know of asset diversification, but there is a thing called tax diversification, different brackets. The tax-free bracket, or the deferred later payment, or the tax now payment. All those are usually the three main buckets. But if you take person A, person B, right, both make $1 million. Person A is going to be judged at the tax bracket of, I think, about like 30%. So they're going to come out with $750,000. They're going to lose about 3 and some change in taxes. But person B, same million, takes $500,000 of this income and put it in a life insurance policy, right? And so they're going to pay taxes on this $500,000 that's out. So they're going to be taxed at that 30%, leaving them with what, I think $150,000. And so while this other $500,000 is in a life insurance policy, it's accruing interest. It's gaining money. And so when they get ready to pull it, if they just pull out the $500,000 that they put in, they are already at $850,000, not including the interest that $500,000 gets.
Yeah. Now,
So
do I have to
exceed their $1 million?
Do I need an exam for whole life? Like, is it the same process? You need the exam, like the medical exam, and you got to make sure
It's still the same process. Yes. The only thing with whole life is anything 50,000 and under, you don't have to get an exam for. Anything over that 50,000 mark, you have to get an exam. Term insurance, depending the company, the minimum coverage is 100,000, right? But anything at or over that 100,000 mark, you have to get an exam. Some companies, they will allow you to get $10,000 in term insurance, and they'll just ask you a couple questions.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you're cleared with those questions, then they'll automatically grant the. Another thing that I want to mention, babies can get life insurance.
Yes.
Sad to say, damn it, babies die. Like, it's happened multiple times. But the only thing with babies, you have to wait 15 days for them before you can get a life insurance on a newborn.
So people
So 15
insuring
days
their
after,
babies. People are insuring their babies.
Yes, I advise that. I tell all my clients that you have a newborn baby after 2 weeks, put a 5, 10, 15, sometimes depending on where it is, I will max it, put $50,000 on them, because at that age, they will always have that $50,000 policy. And you can transfer that policy to them once they reach the age of majority.
That sounds good.
On an 18-year-old, $50,000, they're paying $10. They're paying $10.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And that $50,000 is only going to grow, right? I mean, I'm going to see them again to get more insurance because they're going to have more responsibility. But I wouldn't tell them to cancel that $50,000 policy. That's stupid to me. You could pay $10 on that. And who knows how much equity would be in it at that time, right? So yes, get insurance on your newborns. What else?
How does the beneficiaries work? How does that portion work on your policies?
Is this general or just for the children?
Just in general, not children.
So there are two types of beneficiaries: revocable and irrevocable. Revocable is usually anybody. That's usually the general standard for all policies. Because you can add and remove beneficiaries, like somebody pissing you off and you don't want to leave your money to them. You call, Susan is no go. We can put Mark on there, and that's just how that's gonna go. That's simple, cut and dry. I called Susan. Hey, so we nixed you. Thanks for coming. I'm gonna talk to you on the side, see if I get our own policy, and I'm gonna go ahead and add Mark. That's revocable. Now, irrevocable is usually something or someone you have to get permission to remove them.
Oh.
So it's usually if you have like a lien holder of some sort and you don't have like collateral, but you tell them, hey, I have like a $2 million policy, so they know they're going to get paid if you don't pay them after you pass away. But if you end up paying them back, then you need to go to them and say, hey, the loan has been satisfied or what have you. I need you to sign this, this document as an irrevocable beneficiary, and then you remove them of their policy. I would never tell anybody to make someone an irrevocable beneficiary, especially like a spouse. People get divorced. You make them irrevocable, and you be like, yo, Negro, it's over. And you're like, okay, and you have to sign that. You can't. There's nothing you can do about that unless you literally just stop paying for it and let it fall through.
Is that the best bet?
What, irrevocable?
Stop paying for it, because who wants to keep a divorced spouse on as a beneficiary?
Exactly, because all they're doing is waiting for you to croak.
They just wait. They're waiting on you to check. That's about it. And God forbid you have Thanksgiving dinner at their crib. Who knows what's gonna be on your plate?
Okay. That is so true. Well, look, I know we're getting closer to the end of the show, but we would like to have you definitely come back because you have a wealth of information. And then there were comments. There's a couple of comments. So I do want to go over a couple of the comments here and give, our listeners, so you can give them some feedback. So pre-existing conditions. What does that do to policies? Like sometimes you hear if you have an illness, I'll even pick Crohn's disease, right? Because that's real in my house. So Crohn's disease. What happens to a person if they say, hey, I have Crohn's disease, but I would like a life insurance? What does that do?
So even Crohn's disease, right? So all of them would fall under this pre-existing condition category. All pre-existing conditions are considered a risk factor. That's all across the board. Doesn't matter what the condition is, it's considered a risk factor. Which means that once applied, if you are approved, you're more than likely going to pay a higher rate than most because you are considered a risk to the insurance company. They will take the chance, and they know they're taking a chance of your demise, but this is how they shield and protect themselves by giving you a higher premium. So you can get coverage, Crohn's disease and all. Again, gotten somebody coverage with COPD, and gotten somebody coverage with heart disease. My mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. Praise God, she beat it, but she's still considered like a risk to insurance companies. So they, she's gotten coverage. However, given the length of time you've had the disease would also play a factor to your benefit, only because they've seen how long you've lasted with it. And so the risk is mitigated or minimalized, not by much, but it is not as prevalent as if you were initially diagnosed.
Yes. Okay, that answers that question. I hope
I get you covered either way.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, you do have that. Someone wants to consult with you. So can you provide your information for a consult?
Yeah, absolutely. Mention Dr. Diamond's name. I will waive all security deposits because it's usually charged between $50 to $150. So mention Dr. Diamond's name. This would be considered your coupon code. So I will waive all of that. So phone number is 267-323-9632. Again, 267-323-9632. And email is pretty lengthy, but it's my first initial last name. So A Royster, AROYSTER at AMRCOVERED.com.
Okay. I'm going to put this in the chat right now for you.
This was very good. I learned so much. I'm definitely going to be calling you.
Hey, I ain't even getting another good stuff. But Dr. Diamond and to the co-host, usually 3 reasons why people have concerns about life insurance, all of which, if invited, I would love to dive a little bit more into. But those main 3 are they feel like they don't need it, they don't know where to get it, and they don't know how much they think they can't afford it. So if we do a part 2, I definitely want to dive.
Yeah, we definitely gonna do part 2. So those of our listeners and followers, you please watch out for the next date when Mr. Royster will be back. So he will be talking more in depth about the questions that we do have, and I'm pretty sure we'll have additional questions that come through, because in the end, when we look at our community, and that's what I want to really delve into, is the fears of mortality, how people probably check out maybe in front of you, and then they say, oh, I'm out of here because I'm afraid. So that is something that I would like to address in part 2 about fears, because there are true fears in our community. We look at, like you just said, you mentioned life insurance, all of a sudden is I'm dying tomorrow, like what's happening? The insurance person don't know you're dying tomorrow. He has no clue. Or she. All they're trying to do is provide you with information. But what I would like for you to do, Anthony, is give us a takeaway for us to think about before the next show. What would you say to us?
Yeah, absolutely. So my motto for my company when I built this, right, it had a spiritual meaning to it as well, which is the I'm covered piece of my name. But my motto is, my primary purpose is to provide proper protection. And the reason I chose that motto, number one, is so for you and your families, even at death, I feel like you're still responsible for making sure that your lineage and your legacy is cared for even after death. And so my job is to make that as easy and simple as possible for you, but also show you how you can benefit from the very policy that you set aside for those that you care about. Again, upon death, I can't bring you back. If I could, I would, because again, as I've shared, you are your biggest asset. You don't, and we'll get into it in part two, but when I showed you the monetary gain that you all bring home to your families when you cook and clean and when you take them to school, once you pass away, all of that is going to stop. Even though the average household can last off of 70% of the income, it still can be a strain because of the grieving process that has yet to take place. And my job is to minimize the financial disparity behind that, like to give you that freedom, to grieve. And so my takeaway to you all is, yes, death it's a horrible thing to talk about. It's inevitable, but we gotta prepare. And it's better to do it now than to do it later and end up it can be too late.
Agreed.
Yes, that is perfect.
Great information.
Yes, great information. We are excited to definitely have you back. We'll definitely have our other co-hosts here as well, and we will delve into this topic even further. You two ladies, before we end our show today, what is your takeaway and recommendations for our listeners?
Get life insurance.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Get life insurance.
Yeah, I appreciate you for coming, Mr. Royster. I've learned a lot about a lot of misconceptions that I've had about life insurance. It was tense, but I made it through it. And it can be tense for everyone. I understand that, but I appreciate the great work that you're doing.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yes, and we appreciate you. And to our listeners of On the Couch, so you can follow us on Facebook, also on YouTube. Don't forget to look for the notification when we begin our shows, and please like us and join us. These topics are real. We need for you all to take upon the information because this information is out there. And one thing I'm going to be very frank to our communities. We tend to shy away from topics like this and other topics that we really should be talking about. And when you don't know the information, you feel lost. You feel like, oh, nobody shared anything with me. But I'm going to keep it real with you. You guys have to really invest in what you need to know for yourself. So when you want to take a blind eye to, oh, I don't care about insurance, but God forbid something happen, or just the basic things that we talk about, just mental health in general. If you're not taking in this information, you're definitely losing out. So we're here for this very reason, to help our community. And when you're not taking advantage of it, you must blame yourselves. And I'm just going to be honest with you. It's not us being mean or anything like that. But I think people need to take advantage. When you're getting free information like this, jump on it. And that's all I'm saying. On this platform, we keep it 100, and I'm going to keep it 100 with you all. So I'm hoping that we get more people to tune in and really listen to what we're talking about here. But other than that, we love our followers. We love you all who's investing your time and coming on board with us every 2 weeks. So we're definitely looking forward to seeing you in 2 weeks, where we're going to pick up part 2 here. But other than that, you enjoy the rest of your weekend and enjoy and have a prosperous week coming up. And we will see you in 2 weeks. So thank you, everybody, and have a good one.
Thank you for joining On the Couch this evening. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and if you want to contact Dr. Diamond, you may reach her at candidconversations.dr.d@gmail.com. Have a great evening, and we will see you on the next show.